As the years go by, we start to notice that our relationship with movement changes. What once felt effortless, almost invisible, now asks for more awareness, more gentleness. The body that carried you through decades of busy days and restless nights begins to whisper instead of shout. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Those whispers are your body's way of saying, "Slow down, listen, I still want to move with you, but in a different rhythm." Swimming every day at 85 is not about chasing youth or proving strength to anyone. It's about honoring those whispers, giving your heart a steady song to follow instead of a sudden drumbeat. There's a quiet kind of dignity in that, don't you think? For many people, the hardest part isn't the physical act itself, but the shift in perspective. We grow up believing that more is always better. More speed, more distance, more effort. Yet as we age, the gift is in the opposite, in discovering that less intensity, done with consistency, brings us deeper peace. The water becomes a mirror, showing us that it's not about conquering, but about flowing, not about pushing, but about allowing. It's strange how often we resist this truth. We tell ourselves that slowing down is giving up, when in reality, slowing down is a way of making life last longer. I once spoke with Michael, a man in his late 70s who had been a runner all his life. He confessed that when his knees began to ache, he felt betrayed by his body. But when he finally stepped into the pool, he realized something profound. "I'm not broken," he told me. "I just needed a different way to move." That small change kept his heart strong and his spirit calm. Perhaps you felt something similar, an ache, a hesitation, a quiet fear that your body isn't quite the same as before. That's not a failure. That's life inviting you into a gentler partnership with yourself. Ask yourself, what kind of movement feels kind right now? Not what you think you should do, not what others expect, but what feels like a conversation between your heart and your body. Sometimes the answer is as simple as a short walk, a slow swim, or even a few minutes of stretching in the morning sun. The truth is, your heart is like a lifelong companion that has walked with you through storms and celebrations. It doesn't need grand gestures, it needs steady love. Every small, consistent action you take is a way of saying, "I'm still here with you, and I'll keep caring for you." And when you move like that, when you honor your body's pace, you'll notice something. Instead of feeling older, you'll feel lighter, freer, more connected to yourself than you may have felt in years. By the way, I'd love to know, where are you reading this from? Share your location in the comments. I find it beautiful to see how wisdom and kindness travel across oceans and continents, connecting us all in this quiet journey of care. One of the greatest lessons we learn with age is that life no longer asks us to rush. When you were younger, perhaps movement was about competition, speed, or proving something. But now it becomes a different kind of practice, less about how fast you go and more about how steady you remain. Your heart at this stage of life doesn't thrive on bursts of effort. It thrives on rhythm, on the gentle repetition that tells your body, you are safe, you are cared for. I once met Eleanor, who at 82 was still full of energy, though she didn't always know how to use it wisely. For years, she attended high-intensity aerobics classes, pushing herself with the determination she had carried through her whole life. At first, she felt proud, until her heart began to race in uncomfortable ways, leaving her restless at night. She thought she was doing something wrong, but the truth was simpler. Her body wasn't failing her, it was just asking her to move differently. When Eleanor discovered swimming, everything changed. She stopped focusing on speed and began to let the water guide her into a slower, more consistent rhythm. Within weeks, her palpitations calmed, her sleep grew deeper, and she found herself waking each morning with a kind of quiet joy she hadn't felt in years. She once told me, "I stopped trying to win against time. Now I just flow with it." Perhaps you can sense something similar in your own life. Do you notice how your body feels after sudden effort? And how different it feels when you choose a calm, repeating pace instead? These little observations are more powerful than any stopwatch or calorie counter because they connect you to what your body is truly asking for. If you want to begin, you don't need to set grand goals. Start with something you know you can return to every day. Maybe it's a walk around the garden, 10 minutes in the pool, or a few simple stretches before breakfast. Choose a time that feels natural so it becomes part of your day, like brushing your teeth. Then, when you move, notice your breathing. Keep it steady, like the ticking of a clock or the sound of waves on the shore. Don't worry about distance or pace. The secret is rhythm, not records. Over time, this rhythm becomes a friend. It carries you through days when your energy feels lower and lifts you gently when your spirit feels heavy. This is how the heart is kept strong, not through force, but through steady companionship. If this way of living speaks to you, I'd love for you to stay connected. Subscribe so that you don't miss the gentle guidance and small steps I share each week. You deserve to walk this path with support, with reminders that you are not alone in learning to care for your body in new ways. There is something deeply humbling about realizing that your heart, the same heart that has carried you faithfully for decades, is not quite the same as it once was. This isn't a failure, nor is it a punishment. It is simply the truth of being human. Over time, the body shifts, and the heart, this quiet machine within you, asks for more tenderness and understanding. Doctors often explain it in simple terms. Imagine the arteries as soft, flexible hoses in your youth, bending easily and carrying blood smoothly. With age, they stiffen little by little, just as leather does when it's been in the sun too long. That stiffness means the heart has to push harder. It doesn't mean the heart is broken. It means it is working with a new kind of landscape. And just as you wouldn't run across rough ground without slowing your step, your heart asks for the same respect. I once spoke with David, a retired teacher in his 70s. He had always prided himself on mowing his lawn in record time, pushing the mower briskly as if he were still 40. But then came the dizziness, the strange flutter in his chest. He felt betrayed, frightened even. When his doctor explained that his heart simply needed a slower warm-up and a more measured pace, he sighed with relief. "So it's not that I can't work," he told me. "It's that I need to work with myself, not against myself." That small shift allowed him to keep tending his garden, this time with pauses, with steady breaths, with kindness. The heart in later years recovers more slowly, and that is why sudden exertion can feel overwhelming. But there is good news. When you approach movement gently, your heart responds with gratitude. A slow walk before you swim, a few minutes of stretching before you lift a box, even a pause to breathe deeply before climbing stairs, these small choices create enormous safety. You may find yourself wondering, how do I know when it's too much? The body gives signals if we learn to notice them. A pounding heart that doesn't calm after rest, unusual shortness of breath, or a sudden wave of fatigue, these are not signs of weakness, but messages. They are your heart's way of saying, "Let me catch up." Have you ever listened to those messages, or do you sometimes push past them because you feel you should be stronger? Imagine how different life might feel if you allowed those signals to guide you instead of frighten you. There is strength in awareness, not in denial. Aging invites us to trade the pride of endurance for the wisdom of balance. By listening carefully, by adjusting gently, you give your heart the very thing it longs for, the chance to keep walking with you, not against you, for many more years. The truth is, lasting strength is rarely built from grand gestures. It comes from the smallest choices, repeated with care, day after day. When you wake in the morning, before the rush of thoughts begins, give your body a gentle greeting. Roll your shoulders slowly. Circle your wrists, bend your knees one at a time. These little motions wake up the joints like sunlight touching the earth. They tell your body, "I am ready to move, but I will not force you." After that, drink some water, but not all at once. A few slow sips are enough to refresh your system without overwhelming it. The older body doesn't always handle sudden gulps well, and sometimes what feels like thirst is simply the body asking for steadiness. When you finally step into your movement, whether it is swimming, walking, or gentle stretching, let rhythm guide you more than ambition. Move at a pace where your breathing feels calm and your steps or strokes feel even. Think of it as giving your heart a melody it can hum along to, not a chaotic drumbeat it struggles to follow. This is where real endurance is born, not in bursts, but in consistency. And when you finish, don't rush away. Take a few moments to stretch lightly, to let your body say thank you for the care you just gave it. A slow tilt of the neck, a gentle bend forward, a pause with your hands resting on your knees, these little rituals help your muscles release and your heart settle. Then when you rest, do it with gratitude. Rest is not a sign of weakness, it is part of the cycle of strength. I once knew Harold, 79, who told me she used to skip warm-ups and cool-downs because she thought they were unnecessary. It wasn't until she began to include them, just 5 minutes before and after her swim, that she noticed she no longer felt exhausted in the afternoons. "It's like my body finally trusts me," she said with a smile. Isn't that a beautiful way to see it? Your body learns to trust you when you treat it gently. If you think about it, doesn't life itself work in the same way? Small kindnesses, repeated over time, build trust in relationships. Why should it be any different with the relationship you have with yourself? Ask yourself gently, what is one small step I could add to my mornings that would make my body feel welcomed into the day? You don't need to change everything. Just one simple habit, repeated until it becomes a friend, can transform how your body carries you. There is a common belief that strength belongs only to the young, that after a certain age, vitality is something you slowly lose. But if you pause and look more closely, you'll see that real strength at 80 or 90 looks nothing like the strength of 20. It is quieter, steadier, more resilient. It shows itself not in the ability to sprint, but in the ability to keep showing up, to keep moving with patience, to adapt with grace. Swimming at 85 isn't proof that you've defeated aging, it's proof that you've befriended it. You are not trying to go against time, but to flow with it, and that, in many ways, requires more courage than any marathon ever could. I once knew Harold, who spent his life lifting weights and chasing bigger numbers. In his 70s, when arthritis settled into his hands, he thought his strength was gone forever. But then he began to walk each day, slowly, with pauses to breathe in the air and notice the trees. "I don't feel weaker," he told me, "I feel wiser. My body is teaching me a new kind of power." And he was right. Adaptation is not failure, it is mastery. Many people still hold the myth that aging means decline, that nothing can be done but to watch the years take their toll. Yet you know in your heart that this isn't true. Each time you choose movement, each time you choose rest, each time you choose balance, you are proving the myth wrong. Your heart is not a worn-out machine. It is a seasoned traveler, carrying the marks of every journey you have lived through, and still beating with determination to take you further. Isn't it remarkable to think of all the storms it has weathered and all the joys it has held? When you see it this way, aging becomes less about loss and more about refinement. What if instead of asking, "What can't I do anymore?" you asked, "What new ways can I care for myself now?" That small shift in thought opens a space for possibility, for hope, for gentle change that doesn't pressure but supports. You don't need to run, you don't need to compete. You need only to keep honoring the partnership between your body and your heart, to move with respect and gratitude. That is true strength. And perhaps, if you allow yourself, you'll discover that these years hold not an ending, but a deepening, a chance to live with more clarity, more softness, more wisdom than ever before. If these words resonate with you, I invite you to stay close, to subscribe, so that we can continue this journey of gentle strength together. And I'd love to hear from you. What is one daily habit, however small, that helps you feel strong and alive in your own body? Share it in the comments. I believe your story might inspire someone else who needs to hear it today.